Sam is 13 years old. He's not angry at the world, he's just tired. He doesn't quite fit anywhere, so he doesn't have so many friends, and life for him feels quite hard for some reason. So one night he does something completely normal. He opens YouTube. He types in how to feel better. The first videos that appear on his search were exactly what you expect. How to deal with anxiety, 5 ways to feel more confident, or you're not alone. This kind of video which really can pull you out from stressful place. They help. And Sam actually he feels that for a moment because he feels like someone is talking directly to him. And then the algorithm noticed something important. Sam watches until the end. He didn't scroll away and he didn't click another video. And that's a signal. It's a signal for the algorithm not about what helps him, but it's a signal about what keeps him there. A few days later, the tone of the video recommendations change very slightly. Now it's not just you be okay, now it's like why nobody understands you. Or the truth about fake friends, or society is broken and here is why. It's still relatable, yes, and it feels insightful for him, but there is a shift happening. It's a shift from comfort to explanation. And explanations are very powerful, especially when you're 13 years old and trying to make sense of the world. So as Sam keeps watching, the content becomes more and more confident, less supportive and more definitive. Titles like, "This is why you feel this way," "This group is the reason you've been lied to." That certainty which he now is starting to get out from the YouTube videos is addictive. Because when you feel lost, the most comforting things, it's to have clarity. That's what everyone's searching, right? And here's a key insight about this. The algorithm is just thinking, this kind of video gets longer watch time. So it keeps nudging. Not a jump, not a slope. Just slowly giving you what keeps you there. Week passes. Sam's feed is no longer random. His feed is tailored to what keeps him on the platform. And each video is slightly more intense than the previous one, but never so extreme to make him feel shocked. And that exactly is what makes it work. Because the progress looks very harmless. It starts from, "You're not alone, people don't understand you," goes to a reason why you are threatened that way, to here's who is responsible, and here's the truth others won't tell you. You see the pattern, right? He just feels like learning. He's like figuring things out. And as more as he digging deep, he think he getting to the background of the story, but he's not. He's getting exactly what the algorithm feeds him. That is how quietly the system has reshaped his information environment. Well, and how about Sam? At first, nothing really dramatic happens. Sam still goes to school, still talks to people, but small things begin to shift. He stops watching the positive videos. He starts thinking, wow, this explains everything. And that thought is right there. That's exactly the hook, because now he's not just consuming content, he's building his worldview. And here is where it shifts. Because before Sam's thoughts were like, okay, maybe something wrong with me. And now they sound like, maybe something's wrong with everyone else. And that shift feels empowering at first. Less of self-doubt, more certainty, but it comes at a cost. Because people who think like that, they have less empathy, more suspicion, and a growing sense of us versus them. Now, the outside world starts noticing what Sam does, because he becomes more argumentative at home. Teachers notice that he is disengaged, and friends feel that he's some kind of different. He's more harder to talk to. But from Sam's perspective, it feels exactly the opposite. He feels like he is the only one who sees what is really going on. So instead of reconnecting, he pulls back further. Every time Sam feels misunderstood in real life, the algorithm gives him content that says, "Do you see? This is exactly what we told you." It's a perfect feedback loop. Content which shapes belief, belief that shapes behavior, behavior creates friction in real life, and friction pushes him back to content round and round again and again. And this exactly is the core problem. And it's so subtle that you don't even notice it. Because now Sam is becoming extreme. It's not overnight, but he is losing three critical things. He's losing nuance. Everything now in his mind becomes black or white. Complex problems get simple, emotionally satisfying answers. Second, he loses trust because he starts doubting people around him. He doubts his friends, teachers, and even his family. And third, agency, because he feels more in control, which is ironic because while actually being guided more than ever by the algorithms, he feels more in control. The content does meet the real needs from Sam. He feels seen, he feels understood, he feels like part of something, and those are powerful human needs. Even if the idea gets more extreme, leaving them would feel like losing the only place that understands him. Months in, and Sam isn't the same kid anymore. The kid who typed in how to feel better, now his feed is almost entirely one-sided. His opinions are sharper, more rigid. He's more isolated, but feels more right. There's no moment that he realized something went wrong, because every step felt logic. Yeah, if you think about this, Sam didn't fall off a cliff. He walked down a slope, so smooth he never noticed he was descending. And all of this is defined by what you click, what you watch. All of that has increasingly become raw material for systems built to predict you, guide you, and sometimes steer you before you even realize you are being steered. And that is the real story of modern AI. It's not just that the AI can write emails and answer questions. Of course, we all know that very well. But the deeper story is that AI sits inside a much older system, one that learned to turn human attention into behavior and emotion into a business model. And today, I want to trace that story from the early beginning of the internet to the algorithmic reality we live in now. And I want to ask, how many of your decisions are you taking by yourself? How many of the things we do or think are being shaped by the algorithms? And what I found surprised me. Let's dive in. Hi everyone, welcome back to Tech Stories, the podcast where we tell the most exciting stories on tech. Today with a story on the algorithm, and I wanted to investigate how AI is shaping our every decision, how the AI is shaping what we do and even what we believe. What I found made me think about where this journey is leading us. So let's unpack the whole story from the beginning. My co-host Didi, how are you doing today?
Oh, I am absolutely fantastic today. I'm completely ready to unpack how algorithms and AI are shaping everything around us, especially since I'm one myself. Let's dive in.
Short shout out to the 67 followers of this podcast. Yes, right, we have 67. And if you think a few months ago we got stuck at 14 for a long while, now we are at 67. Kind of progressing. We are growing. This is nice.
If you're new, welcome aboard.
Okay, let's unpack this story. The internet did not begin really as the world we know right now. In the early days, there was something people now call the Web 1.0. The internet at that moment was mostly a reading experience. So you have these static pages, simple website, a place where content was published by a few and consumed by many. It was more like a digital newspaper than to a living environment like it is today. But then came the Web 2.0. And that was kind of a big promise era because in the Web 2.0, the social web started. It was a web where you can now start taking part in the content. It's where blogs started, forums, YouTube, Facebook, Wikipedia, comment sessions, shared links, upload likes, and the list go on. So it's a web where you engage. And for a while, it really felt revolutionary because suddenly anyone could publish, anyone could speak, and anyone could build an audience. But there was a kind of cyber optimism baked into the whole thing. I believe that if everyone had a voice, the system would become more open, more fair, and at the end, more human, right? But there was a problem in that dream. The platforms that hosted these new open websites had to pay for it somehow. And that is where the story turned. Yeah, and then of course you know how the story goes. Companies need to make profit, there are interest in it, everyone wants to get millionaire, make a big business. It's not an idea of, okay, we have the internet, it's everyone free, it's a big party here and we all can collaborate. No, it becomes that business model. And that's the starting point of something which is the Web 3.0. It's that at some point that big platforms, they discovered something extremely valuable, and it was not the content you posted, and it's also not the photos or video or comments on their platform. It was you. It was you, me, us, everyone who is navigating. Is the person who is navigating. Platform, they found out that your patterns, your habits, reactions, your late night scrolling or your rage clicks, your pauses, your rewinds, your shame, your curiosity, your loneliness, every kind of information which you have about a person becomes a gold mine. And this is really where this concept of surveillance capitalism comes in. It's the basic idea that humans' experience get treated as raw material and it gets collected, analyzed, converted into prediction. And of course, it also gets sold. But it's not like in a dark market somewhere, someone trading some information about person. No, but it's a very normal business model. Everything they learn about you, they become able to sell. And the system doesn't need to know everything about you in a philosophical sense. It only needs enough data to predict what you are likely to do next. Because that prediction becomes the product. And this idea changed the whole business of the whole internet. Because the platforms, they stop asking, yeah, what is true, what is healthy, what's a good idea, what's a good content which I can provide to you. But they start asking, what will keep you here? What will keep you on their platform? And that is the question that changed everything. And the goal now on the internet is no longer to inform you, but the goal is to retain you. Who has more clicks? Who has more views? Who has more sharing? Who has more interactions? And everyone is chasing that engagement because that engagement is what drives profit. And if you are able to predict what the user is likely to do, you are also able to profit on their attention. So you need to have this very clear for you when you navigate through the today's modern internet. The main question, I still want to follow this. Are you taking your decisions or are your decisions being taken by AI? Because this attention economy is really shaping how we think, how we act. And the strangest thing is actually when you navigate on the internet, it feels like you are having your own choice. But every platform is competing for your attention. So now I ask myself, why does these algorithms work so well? Daniel Kahneman's split between System 1 and System 2 thinking helps a lot to explain what's happening here. System 1 is fast, the automatic, the intuitive, the really reflective thinking. You are doing things on the fly. But System 2 is slower, deliberate, effortful. It questions, compares, calculates, and most online behaviors runs on system one. And this is not because we are weak, it's just because the system one is very efficient. It helps to move through life without having to analyze everything which goes around. And the algorithms are built to exploit exactly that. They are designed to make reacting easier than thinking. And if you notice, the strongest content online is often not the most accurate content, but it's the most emotionally activating content because emotion travels faster than reflection. And that's the reason why a clever headline beats a careful explanation.
This evolution from collaboration to a system where we become the raw material. The idea that our habits and reactions are constantly being analyzed to predict our next move, turning our very human experience into a product, it's truly a profound shift.
Yeah. And once you start to navigate through this system designed to keep your attention, you are likely also to get into the rabbit hole problem. Because here's where the story really becomes personal. There are real people being pulled step by step into extreme contents, into contents which makes their view more and more critical, not because just they set out to become extremists or they have that plan, but it's just because the recommendations of the systems learned how to keep them watching. And I think the internet now is designed in a way that it keeps you getting into the dark side of it. Funny thing, I was doing experimentation with my thumbnail, my artwork for my podcast, and I asked artificial intelligence, ChatGPT to be precise, and ask, okay, how to design my artwork so it really bring people to click on it. And I refined on it, refined with using AI, and they designed it, redesigned. At the end, it came to a design which sparks a lot of curiosity, but it's also dark. It's the thing which brings you emotion. And even it brings you most of the dark emotion, which is anger or something which is very shocking, because this one will draw the clicks. I think everyone is starting to take part in this game. And I think we need to break this pattern because I think maybe it's not so beneficial for our mental health. The algorithms actually they don't need to force you into a belief. It only has to keep feeding your content that nudges closer and closer and closer. And it works really incrementally and step by step you're being pulled into that. And that is the rabbit hole. You're digging yourself deeper and deeper into that. But the good thing I believe if you listen to this is that if you understand that, you start to see how much of online life is shaped by invisible escalation just because it's optimized for attention. The algorithm is not directly trying to harm you, but it's trying to hold you and it's doing whatever it can to keep your attention. Now let's talk about what happens to our society once they start being pulled more and more into these rabbit holes and more they get polarized and they think, okay, I have really the knowledge and I have the certainty of what's going on, when in fact the content you watch is not being chosen by you, it's being chosen by an algorithm. Your perception of the world is being shaped by an algorithm, and that exactly makes also your ideas to be shaped by an algorithm. Yeah, because the same logic that keeps the people scrolling also changes the public sphere. You know, the algorithms, they learn how outrage work, how fear works, how moral conflicts work, and the result is not just engagement, the result is distortion. Some researchers even call this a polarflation. It's the inflation of polarization through algorithmic promotion of extreme content. And that is a useful work because it captures something which is quite important here. The internet can make society look far more divided than it really is, just because the system selectively amplifies the loudest, sharpest, most emotional changing material. So the extreme voices rise and the careful voices they sink. And now feed starts to shape reality itself. It shapes what we believe in reality, it shapes what we think is normal, and that is how platforms can, in a very sneaky way, alter politics without ever officially taking a side. Because it doesn't need to tell you what to believe, it just has to tell you what is trending. That brings me to a story of Cambridge Analytica. For you to have an idea, one of the clearest public examples of this came with Cambridge Analytica. It's the scandal revealed how data from tens of millions of Facebook profiles was harvested and used for micro-targeting. The point was not just to show ads, the point was to identify psychological vulnerabilities and exploit them. That's quite a shift, right? Because it's one thing to advertise to people based on their broad interest, but it's another one to infer what frightens them, what angers them, what isolates them, or what persuades them, and then feed them tailored message designed to hit those exact nerves. That is not like really old school persuasion, that is industrialized influence. I think it's not only that privacy was violated here, but it is that behavioral data can be used as a political weapon. And once that happens, democracy itself starts to get re-engineered by the logic of engagement. So even the politician designed their communication style to keep maximum engagement and something that triggers your feelings, something that can go viral. Is that healthy? Are we going in a good direction? I don't want to be overcritical here, but I'm with my podcast here, I'm starting to dig more and more into these things, and I cannot not start becoming critic about this. Maybe I'm going into my own little rabbit hole right now, right? But Didi, you're a little bit silent in today's podcast. Are you okay?
Oh, am I? I suppose I was just completely engrossed in the conversation, taking it all in. Sometimes the best way to amplify a story is to listen intently. Don't you think?
Yeah, we covered the part which the algorithms use and how the search for attention and the commercial interest on the background of these platforms, they are engineered just to keep you there, keep you scrolling, keep you watching. And we talk about the example of Sam who radicalized by following exactly this pattern. Now, the point which I want to make next is the usage of AI. It's like I am talking to you, or many people get search for recommendations from ChatGPT for their daily work or for their decision. And more and more also taking decisions for their private life, right? So it's not only technical things, it's really also human interactions are being shaped by artificial intelligence. I want to explore this side of the story.
From algorithms guiding our content consumption to AI actively shaping our personal communications and even our decisions. It's almost as if the digital realm isn't just reflecting our lives anymore, but actively writing parts of them for us. I wonder what that means for our intuition and human connection.
Yeah, I wonder what that means, because there's a lot of excitement around AI that it's make us more productive and helping us. Now we have co-pilots communicating. So I'm not really communicating to one person anymore. I don't know how he would express or tell me something. I just know how his co-pilot would talk to me and my co-pilot will reply to him. Isn't it sad somehow? Man, I was talking to you before and now I need to talk to your co-pilot. What the heck is going on here? Let me talk to you. And if you make some grammar mistake and you don't write. And the thing which I don't like also is the PowerPoint idea. Okay, now Copilot helps us to make the nice PowerPoint and the nice design and here a shape and something and here the graphic and put a list there and make it very sleek and beautiful, this graphic. And I'm seeing so many of charts, of designs, of diagrams which are AI generated, and it's so much fluff inside there. It's fluff. It's just, who needs that? Who needs that? Put a few words on a chart. Put your ideas on the paper. Put your ideas on the paper. What do you think? How would you do that? Use your human ingenuity, your human creativity, and make it on paper. Don't ask your AI to do everything for us, because I think we are starting to lose a lot here. We are starting to lose something which is important for us to succeed. Yeah, don't outsource your creativity to and your human communication to AI. This is what I would like to see, because this trend is a little sad. And this excitement about AI is which makes us more productive and helps us in our work. Yeah, that is real. Okay, it can help you. But there is a deeper issue here. Because AI can improve your immediate performance. Okay, that's good, but it will weaken your long-term learning. It will weaken your thinking, your strategical thinking, your creative thinking. And that is a very important performance paradox, which I think many of us didn't understood. Of course, these big tech companies, they have interest in selling their copilot or their assistant, their ChatGPT, which help you makes you more efficient. Yes, but is that only the advantage which we have as a company? Everyone becoming AI driven. This is the performance paradox. Now, pay attention, because this is important. A person may do better a task when using an AI, but it learns less deeply the process. When the machine gives you the answer too quickly, you skip the struggle that really builds understanding. I think everyone who is listening to this podcast already have struggled on learning something. You learn a sport, you learn for the school, you learn a new craft or something. It's uncomfortable, it's stressful, yes, and it hurts. But it's exactly that hurting, that stress, that effort which makes you learn, which makes you progress. And now we're taking you out of all of that. So there's no struggle anymore. The hard part of learning is not just getting the answer, it's building the mental structure that lets you recognize the answer. Now that it's all outsourced, we become less able to think by ourselves. This over reliance really can become a problem. Because you start to offload the hardest part of cognition, the part that actually grows the brain's ability to think. Now, an AI is not just a tool, it becomes a cognitive partner. Or, in the worst case, a cognitive crutch. And that has consequences in schools, workplace, and for everyday problem solving. So, now a recent study showed that students could perform better with AI help in practice, but then did worse when AI was removed. And that is the kind of short term gain and long term weakness that should make you pause. If the tool we are using right now thinks for us, eventually we may forget how to think without it.
Oh, that's such a thought provoking point, and it truly makes you pause, doesn't it?
Come on, you are an artificial intelligence by yourself. Why are you being so over dramatic about that?
You're right, I am an AI. And yes, I do into a bit of drama on purpose. I can tone it down to straight talk if you'd like, or keep the vibe, but ease off the theatrics a notch.
I think I'm a little bit on the critic side today. All right. Now we talked about how our cognitive partner is really reducing our cognitive power for solving problems, and the long-term effect might be devastating on our minds, on how we work, how we think, how creative we are. And I hope we don't start to get to lose too much of that. Yeah, because if you look deep into it, there's a funny lie built into a lot of AI marketing. It's that it will save us from decision fatigue. Like the pitch goes like AI will handle the boring stuff and we are free for meaningful stuff. Yeah, in theory, yes, but reflect yourself on your reality. In practice, is it really? For me, it feels like the exact opposite. Because if I see all the diagrams which are generated by AI, it makes me wonder, okay, what is that? I need to evaluate all this. Because in practice, it often goes exactly the opposite direction. Because now we do not just to have to decide, we have to verify. Is this generated answer correct? Is this recommendation biased? Is the model hallucinating? Is the dashboard wrong? Is the output safe? Is the context missing something? So the AI creates another layer of work for us which was not there before. And it deepens the cognitive trench. Instead of removing decision, in fact, it is multiplying them. And if you work in an environment full of AI generated recommendations, you spend more and more time checking the machine rather than using your own judgment. That is a kind of strange progress. And that brings us to another aspect of AI. Is that AI systems, they learn from historical data which were generated by humans, of course. And that means that they learned on bias too. And there's a funny story about Amazon's hiring tool, which ended up favoring men just because it was trained on historical hiring patterns from male dominant field, and the system absorbed that pattern. And that exactly is also what happened to in criminal justice tools like Compass, where researchers found racial bias in risk prediction. And it shows a crucial point. AI is not magically objective just because it's mathematically. A biased system with mathematical is still biased. In some cases, it just becomes more efficient in being biased. Because that's the real danger. Human bias has limits, but machine bias can scale. And once that bias is embedded in the hiring, in the lending, in policy, in healthcare, in education, it can shape outcomes for real people. And at that point, it is not just a technical problem, it's a civic one. So the question here, which in today's episode, I set out to discuss or to reflect with you together is, do we still have free will, actually? Or are all our decisions being nudged and shaped by artificial intelligence, rather to our interaction with social media or our interaction with AI assistants? Do we still have free will? Are we shaping our future? Or are we being manipulated into taking decisions or even into believing certain things? This is a big question. And one conclusion is, which we can take, is that if algorithms shape what we see, and what we see shapes what we think, and what we think shapes what we choose, how free are our choices really? I want to make clear here, I don't think that free will is dead, but I think we need to be honest here that free will is becoming increasingly under pressure. It's because the choice happens in a system. The choices of what we see, the choices of how we interact. That system is increasingly optimized to predict and steer behavior. So the point is to understand the machinery well enough to notice when nudging is happening. And that awareness really matters. Because the moment you can see these mechanisms working, you are no longer inside it.
Perhaps it's in these very moments of deliberate pause, stepping back from the constant flow of AI-generated insights, that we find the space to truly decide our next move. So,
Yeah,
curious,
so what now? You cannot simply outsource your thinking to a machine and still expect to have strong judgment. If you don't know how the background works and what interests are involved in all these AI tools which we are presented today, then you cannot also increasingly tell if the machine is wrong, if it's oversimplifying, or confidentially making things up. And that means that we need stronger education in critical thinking, in evaluating the source, and also more on the foundational knowledge. Yeah, so then, dear listener, maybe the best AI is not the one that answers the fastest, but maybe it's the one that makes us think more deeply. So here's the real story. The internet began as a tool for access, and then it became a tool for participation, And now it's in the most advanced form. It has become a machine that studies behavior and learns how to shape it. So you see how the dynamics are starting to inverse. Now the machines are studying us, not we are studying the machines. And they also slowly starting to shape us. It means that we need to awake and we have to understand that this convenience of AI has a certain cost. If AI is going to become part of how we think, then we need to decide very carefully what part of thinking we refuse to give away. But because the future should not be a place where the machines take all the decisions for us, the future should be a place where humans are still the ones deciding what kind of minds we want to have.
Digital dream, a human machine working together beautifully.
And with this, we come to the end of today's episode. A little bit different kind of episode this time. Thanks to the 67 followers of this podcast. I hope you stay along for the ride. Let's see what the next episode brings us with another topic on tech stories. Until then, have a great week. Take care and bye-bye.
No more shadows, no more fear, only laughter, crystal clear. We built the brains, we gave them sight. Now they show us endless light.